One. Hello and welcome in, everybody. I am Greg Smith, Hail Varsity recruiting extraordinaire, joined once again for a Thursday football video by staff writer Steve Marik. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. We got some spring football on the deck, don't we?
Yeah, we definitely do, and I feel like the big thing going into this is how the heck did we get here already? Where spring football is just around the corner. We record this on Thursday to go live on Thursday. Spring football starts on Monday. It's just here around the corner, and that's great because we have a lot of things to talk about though with spring football. It's just that it feels like it snuck up on everybody, us included. So I guess we kind of want to dive into some things that are on our mind that are just kind of hot topics about spring football, things that we're looking forward to. So I guess I want to start here with you, Steve. I guess what are some things that are top of mind for you this spring that you're really looking out for?
Yeah, so the easy one would be the quarterback situation. I mean, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. It's the it's the best, most important position on the team. But dig a little deeper in that offensive line situation too, with the loss of Cameron Jurgens, 18 straight starts, 31 total starts at the center position in his career. That leaves a big hole to fill. So yeah, I'm really interested in who I guess takes those first team reps at center and what other kind of options they have there. There are options. It'll be just really interesting to see who kind of takes the reins at that position and who tries out at the position, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing that we have to figure out is like who's actually going to try and do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's funny. We've talked so much, and I'm so glad you started with quarterback and then went to offensive line because we've talked so much about quarterback this offseason that I
Yeah.
almost feel like we've gotten to the point to where people have forgotten, like, oh, by the way, they have to find a center, and it's not just that they have to have like whoever, like Jurgens' backup last year is just going to slide in, and there's question marks and all of that. No, it's going to be someone completely new, and it's likely right going to be someone who's really not played center before. Like you're probably looking at someone that's been converted from a different position. And so I guess when you talk about like this, who's going to even, like you said, try out for that? But then another portion of that, and that, assuming that we're going to get new offensive line coach Donovan Raiola on Monday during those press conferences, and one of the very first questions for him, I think, is going to be, what is he even looking for when it comes to that center, right? And I think that kind of sets the stage for what's to come with who's going to end up eventually playing that position. There's a lot of different questions with that offensive line, but I think that the very first one that you're going to have to figure out, obviously, is who's going to be snapping the ball to whichever quarterback ultimately wins the job.
Yeah. And when I look back at last season, I thought Jurgens really did well at times. I know he went through those rough snapping situations a couple of years ago, but last season he seemed to fix it. He only had one bad one, I think, off the top of my head. But yeah, just if you watched what Cam Jurgens did on the offensive line and what he kind of made up for when kind of the tackles on the edge weren't really like having that much success blocking some of these monsters that the Big Ten has. They were moving him. They were pulling him so much to help out on the edges. And I thought that was such a useful thing to do, but not everybody can do that. Like Cam Jurgens is an elite athlete. He's going to blow up I think at the NFL Combine. His testing numbers are going to be off the charts. He can move so well. And it makes sense because he was a 4-star tight end coming out of Beatrice in high school. But yeah, he made up for so many deficiencies, I think, last year. And he just the fact that he could move and pull, and that created so many more options like for an offense. And I'm just trying to think if they have that offensive lineman who's capable of doing that right now, like what Cam did last year. And I don't know the answer to that, but I guess they'll maybe just try, creating more plays and thinking more plays where the center doesn't move and isn't on the run as much as Cam was last year. And that's fine too. I think Mark Whipple is obviously a really smart coach, and so is Scott Frost drawing up the plays. So yeah, I know some people have thrown out the name Turner Corcoran as maybe an option at the center. I personally don't see it, but that'd be a huge center, a 6'6" center. I know there are big centers elsewhere, but that'd be a really big one. But other options I'm looking at, maybe Nuri Nueli I think he did a really good job earning himself a scholarship last year at playing guard, and also Ethan Piper and Trent Hickson too could get looks at center. Those are guys who have seen success in their careers and then have been, I guess, their development hasn't quite been where everybody wants it to be. But maybe, with the new offensive line coach and Donovan Raiola, maybe a fresh set of eyes and new teaching practices, maybe something clicks for those two.
Yeah, I think the guy, if I have to pick one, and no one asked me to, I'm just going to do it. To go to that, I really have an eye on in this out of that group. It is Ethan Piper, because and it's partially because how I think things could fit together if he ends up being the center, right? So I think that if Ethan Piper can have that center job, and then Nurinueli can stay at one of the guards, I think that would be good to give you some continuity with one of those spots. And then you've got kind of a battle then between like Hickson, and then Henry Lutovsky is coming up at that other guard. And then you could have Turner Corcoran slide inside the guard. When Turner comes back, he's at that left tackle. You have to figure out what's happening with right tackle as well. Like, I just think that your options are a little bit more open to me, and you have continuity if Piper can then hold down that center spot. And I think he's going to get a really good crack at that. And I think athletically, while he's not Jurgens, I think that he can be in the same vicinity as Cam Jurgens. But it's going to answer your original question about, like, do they have someone that could do the stuff that he did? No, because you just don't see guys like around the country very often doing that type of stuff, which kind of stinks for Nebraska because they didn't have those other parts of the line buttoned up last year. They weren't able to really take full advantage of being able to have someone like that. But flip it over to the other side of the ball quickly. The other spot that offensive line is right up there for me. The other spot that I'm really intrigued by is defensive back. Like, I think I said this to Chris Schmidt on Hail Varsity Radio yesterday. I feel like every day, if someone were to ask me who I think is going to project the starters in the defensive backfield, I'd change my answer every day because I just feel like there are so many guys that really have an opportunity. And we talk about, and a lot of people, you make your list of like guys who need to have the biggest springs and all of that. Noah Pola Gates, you're not going to get very long in that list before you name him. It's a huge spring for him because they did nothing but bring in talented players into that defensive backfield. And so I'm really curious to see how Travis Fisher and Eric Shenander mix and match that group, because there's a lot of talent back there and a lot of competition that's going to be strong this spring.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on the offensive line, one more thing real quick is they are going to be without Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran and Travis Vokalek, kind of a pseudo tackle there. He's That's so right. Huge, but they're going to be out for the spring practices and not being able to practice, or at least be extremely limited. So that's another thing to keep in mind too, with the offensive line situation. With the week 0 game in Ireland against a Big Ten opponent, you're not going to have, 3 almost starters on your spring roster that you can kind of get work in with. So that's going to be really interesting. But yeah, you bring up an excellent point with the defensive backfield again. You lose 3 of the 4 traditional starters in the backfield. And Quentin Newsome, I really, really loved what he did last year at corner. I thought in the beginning, opposing Big Ten offenses were looking at, okay, Cam Taylor-Britt, he's an all Big Ten caliber player. Let's go to the new guy, right? Let's run right at the new guy. And I thought Quentin Newsome was that new guy, and he handled it extremely well. He's another big corner. I have a soft spot in my heart for big corners. He's 6'1", 185, and he just really took on the challenge of sticking a nose in there and providing run support, and then also, doing very, very well in pass coverage too. I think Quentin Newsome has positioned himself in a great spot to hunker down on one of those starting corner spots, whether that be boundary or field. So, but yeah, that other side, the other corner, there's a ton of different names. There's, Tommy Hill, Javier Morton. I could go on and on, but
Omar Brown will be in the mix.
Yeah, Omar Brown. Oh yeah, the FCS Freshman of the Year from 2019. So there is so much talent. They have done a great job of bringing in talented dudes to compete for time may the best man win. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really fun and interesting. My personal favorite, I really like what Deshaun Singleton, his huddle film showed. Big Ten type safety body already at 6'3", over 200 pounds. He wasn't afraid of contact at all. That's what I really like. As kind of maybe the opposite of a Miles Farmer. I thought he kind of stepped in well when Deontay Williams went down with the injury after Minnesota. So yeah, there's just a lot of options, and I trust Travis Fisher to put the best four out there for sure. And then if we want to talk about the nickelback position too, with JoJo being gone. I've always been a big fan of Javin Wright. Hopefully everything is good with him health-wise. I know he had that health scare with the blood clots last season, and he's been going through conditioning and being a member of the team. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you start thinking about guys this spring that will be X factors for like raising the ceiling of the team, I think that Javin Wright is definitely one of those guys. One guy that as we were kind of talking about those defensive backs, that somehow I always lose track of, but we should not, because the coaches go out of their way to mention him, is Marcus Buford. Yeah. And I feel like he's going to play somewhere. I don't know where he's going to play. And I think I wrote this a couple of weeks ago with my kind of guys that are young in the program that could take another step. The article that I wrote on HailVarsity.com is that he can play either corner or safety, I think, wherever Nebraska needs him to play. I just want them to pick a spot and let him run with it. I mean, and it's just a personal preference. I'm not Travis Fisher, but I understand that Travis Fisher likes to cross-train his guys. And if it works out, that's really good, because then you can mix and match. And if someone goes down, you can get your best 11 on the field, no matter what position that is. And both Fisher and Chenander have both publicly said that. And so I understand that, but I think Buford is playing somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be, but I think he's going to play a lot somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point by you, because I remember during the season doing a story on him and mentioning what impact he had on punt coverage as a gunner. Oh man, he was really good at just lining up, and whether he had one dude on him or two, he was just beating that person down the field and laying a lick and getting a tackle on these punt returners. And that's very valuable to have. And like you said, he's been cross training at both center or not center, that'd be a small center, cross training at corner and safety, but also doing really, really good things on special teams as one of those punt gunners.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there are so many things that we could get into here, but that's going to do it for us today. Make sure that you guys are checking out the Hail Varsity YouTube page. We'll be back on here with plenty of content throughout spring football. Same goes, obviously, for HailVarsity.com. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage of spring football. We also still got basketball going on. Baseball is getting started. A little bit rocky to start off. But we'll see if Bolton, the boys, can turn things around. But make sure you guys are checking out all of that stuff. We will catch you guys next time.